The Indianapolis Colts roll into this Week 6 matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, getting one of their prime playmakers back on the field. Let's get to it.
You are Locked On Colts, your daily Indianapolis Colts podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for listening to Locked On Colts. Reminder that you can follow our show and hear new episodes ad-free daily on Amazon Music. And today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your first bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Hicks, your resident film nerd of HorseshoeHuddle.com, and my partner Jake Arthur is the credentialed Crocs on the ground for Roundtable Sports. A sound on the ground, you can hear him, you can see him. That is Jake Arthur over there at Roundtable Sports. We're going to break down this Colts and Cardinals game one final time before the big game on Sunday. We're going to talk about the offense, talk about the defense, talk about special teams, because that's now a big thing we have to talk about, and also give our final score predictions for the big game. But first, Jake, some news and notes when it comes to injuries. The Colts are getting fairly healthy, it looks like. Only players ruled out: Kenny Moore II, slot corner, who's been out for the last couple of weeks. Still wish the Colts would have put him on IR a couple weeks ago, but I digress. We're not going to talk about that right now. And running back Tyler Goodson, who's still dealing with a groin injury, he is going to be out this week as well. But everyone else off the injury report, no questionable guys, no doubtful guys, nothing like that. Alec Pierce is back. Grover Stewart survived that early week scare with the biceps. Looks like the Colts are rolling into this game fairly healthy. And on the other end, the Arizona Cardinals, there's been a lot of speculation with their injury report. It looks like the main guys, the Mac Wilson is questionable. Kyler Murray, the quarterback, is obviously the biggest one we're watching. He's officially questionable. We'll get more news about him. Obviously, like tomorrow night, we'll get that Schefter or Rappaport tweet at like midnight that says if he's trending towards playing. Their punter is also an injury report with questionable designation, so that could be one to watch. I believe they had one more notable one on there. I think it was, and Max Melton, that corner, is also questionable. Those are really the big ones. The rest of them are kind of like rotational guys. Darius Robinson, the defensive lineman, I believe they took in round 1 or early round 2 a couple years ago. He is out this weekend as well. But, overall, it looks like both these teams are coming in fairly healthy. The big question obviously just comes down to Kyler Murray if he's going to play. But for the Colts, you couldn't really ask for much better out of your injury report coming into this game.
Yeah, 7 guys for Arizona, but they did have some important players clear the injury report. You got like Will Hernandez in particular is one that I know is important. Will Johnson, Jonah Williams. So like they had starters on that O-line, an O-line that isn't great in pass protection necessarily, but they're getting everyone back regardless. The Colts, as you said, it looks very promising. I mean, you're used to playing without Kenny Moore at this point. This is week 3 without him. The difference is Mike Hilton. No Mike Hilton. He's on practice squad IR now. So it's the Chris Lamont show. And honestly, like I don't want to sound the bell too soon, but I don't feel too bad about Chris Lamont. Had a really strong preseason, and I liked the brief action that I saw last week. So Lamont might be perfectly fine back there. And if you're Arizona, you're really only passing threats are Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride. So Greg Dortch is a good player, but they haven't exactly been feeding anyone other than those two. Health-wise, looking real good there. And then offensively for the Colts, you just want to see what the plan of attack is. There is some familiarity there, obviously, with their defensive coordinator in Arizona as well as Jonathan Gannon. They were all, and Shane Steichen, they were all together in Philadelphia. So they know each other plenty. And, they're going to be cognizant of each other, but there's only so much you can change and disguise, week to week. So I'm looking pretty forward to that one because Arizona does a lot of interesting things in the secondary with their coverages as well. Budda Baker, they do the 3 safety stuff. So very interesting defense coming up for the Colts offense.
Yeah, very different from what they just faced with the Raiders, where the Raiders were in base defense a lot. And even when they weren't in base, technically, they had Jamal Adams come on the field to be their third linebacker, like Apex type money backer out there. So it is very different where we're going to see fewer linebackers, more safeties on the field with the Cardinals. So let's get into this. The Colts offense versus the Cardinals defense. And I sound like a broken record at this point because I say it every week because it's just the Colts plan of attack. But the only consistency that you can glean when looking at what the Colts want to do is they're going to come out early and they're going to throw the football. And when we look at the Cardinals, their passing defense, it's weak on first and second down, and it's definitely weak in the fourth quarters for these teams coming back against them, but weak on first and second down. So I think the Colts early in this game are going to throw the ball a lot to really soften up that Cardinals defense before getting into Jonathan Taylor in the second half, because the Cardinals do have, I think, like a top 5, top 6 run defense on paper as well. So it's going to be much of the same from this Colts offense. They're going to come out here. They're going to have very unique personnel sets. So I can't even predict, 12, 13, 11 personnel, which one it's going to be this week. But I do know that they're going to come out throwing the ball pretty highly early. They're going to throw it at like a 70 to 75, 80% clip in the first half like they've been doing. And once they soften up that Cardinals defense, it'll be the Jonathan Taylor show in half 2. That's the method that's worked for them quite a bit this year. And I don't expect that to change much on Sunday.
Yeah, 2 guys for the Colts who I'm looking forward to getting involved. Obviously, Tyler Warren. The Titans tight ends had some success. Chigo Okonkwo and Gunnar Helm did a lot of really good things against the Cardinals defense last week. And, earlier in the week, we kind of build this, or at least on the crossover, I think, Trey McBride versus Tyler Warren. That's just a very attractive marquee there. But also Alec Pierce. I mean, welcome back. I think you're going to get some work because the Cardinals blew coverage on Calvin Ridley downfield a couple times in the fourth quarter. One of them wasn't a blown coverage. It was just Ridley, on a go ball, beating his man down the field. But one of them was a post route that he just, the safety came up instead of going with him. So definitely some opportunities there with the coverages they do use, if they go 3 high or whatever, with getting Alec Pierce in those wide open areas of the deep field, because we know he can pretty much beat anybody downfield. And the Colts have kind of missed that element a little bit the last couple of weeks. So I think Alec Pierce getting out there, he's going to get at least 1 or 2 shots. And then you had mentioned the plan of attack normally is to soften things up with the pass, oddly enough, to milk things out with the run. I do think they'll be able to run a little bit on Arizona as well. Now, they rank highly up there in yards per carry against and everything. Like on paper, they're a pretty good run defense. But Tony Pollard and Tyjae Spears both had a little bit of success against them. And it wasn't anything crazy that Tennessee was doing. It was just hat on a hat blocking. And, the Colts are willing to get weird with it when it comes to how they're going to scheme up the run game. So Jonathan Taylor, it may not come early, but by the end of the game, I think he's going to have a pretty significant run.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting to see how the Colts match with those 3 safety sets that the Cardinals like to throw out there, because, last week we saw the Colts go into a lot more 13 personnel and 12 personnel, which you would think the inverse when you're going against a team that wants to sit in base so much. Throw 11 personnel out there, throw more receivers against their base linebackers. But the way the Colts use 13 and 12 personnel is if you're going to be in heavier defensive sets, we're going to match that with heavier offensive sets and then throw off the play action against those linebackers, make them have to cover our tight ends in space, because what linebacker's covering Tyler Warren right now? Right. So I'm curious if the Colts come out with those heavier personnel sets and say, hey, you have 3 safeties on the field, we're going to run right at you with heavier tight end looks, or if they come out strength on strength, 11 personnel versus them, and just get more receivers on the field to eat against these defensive backs. It'll be a really interesting chess match between, again, Shane Steichen and Jonathan Gannon, 2 guys who go back quite a few years, have worked together a long time, had some joint practices. I think, was it this summer? No, it was last summer.
2 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago, okay. Yeah, so they had the joint practices a couple years ago as well. So these guys know each other. They get along pretty well, and I think it'll be a really good chess match between the 2. But, when it comes to the Colts offense, not much has slowed them down this year. And really the only team that we've seen slow them down is a team that just dominated the trenches. And when you're looking at what the Cardinals have up front, they have a good group of players, like name-wise, Baron Browning, Josh Sweat, Calais Campbell in his 400th season is still going at it. It's a good group name-wise, but they haven't been as productive as you would like, especially in the pass rush department. So I think the Colts are just going to get to their game plan, do what they've been doing, and move that ball forward. And ultimately, it's just about getting as much points on the board early. So I expect the Colts to take that ball first, go down the field with their pass heavy attack and get some points on the board to start the game. Just so, again, the Cardinals can feel like, hey, last week's collapse is not over. You're facing a team that can keep scoring on you. Make them get in their heads early, because they're going to come out and throw a good punch early. But if you can score on them when they're trying to do that, you can really deflate a team that is a bit undisciplined out there.
Yeah, this is, it's obviously a pretty decent defense from Arizona. It's the strength of their team, but I do just think the Colts have kind of the matchup busters for this one. If you look at, again, last week, like there were some drops from Alec Manor and Tyler Lockett for the Titans that I just don't think Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs are going to be dropping necessarily, So I do think the Colts match up pretty well in this one. But honestly, the Colts defense against this Arizona offense, there's a lot to say, number one, because we don't even know who the quarterback is going to be. But we're going to be getting to that in just a moment. When the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with Supply House. Order today and see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the biz. Their real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, whether their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. If you need parts faster for a project and Supply House has a next-day delivery, you can talk about a game changer when it comes to that, because time is money, and they've got you covered there. The Part Finder tool and the 3D schematics can save you hours on jobs where every detail matters. Their Trademaster perks, like priority shipping and dedicated support, makes the whole process a lot smoother. So join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit supplyhouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHNFL5 for 5% off of your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service. Welcome back, everydayers. We are talking Colts and Cardinals. 1:00 p.m. kick on Fox on Sunday at Lucas Oil Stadium. And we're focusing now on the Colts defense against the Cardinals offense. So the first thing you think of with the Cardinals offense is obviously Kyler Murray, but he's got a foot injury that kept him out of practice Wednesday and Thursday. He was limited today, and Jonathan Gannon was relatively non-committal, has basically said if he's healthy enough to play, he'll play, but they're going to monitor things over the next couple days. And I would imagine, like Zach said, by Saturday night, if you're the Cardinals, you'd probably like to make a decision. Quarterback is not one, to me, where you want to go game time decision. Like, you want to put the bow on your preparation, whether that's going to be Jacoby Brissett or Kyler Murray by at least Saturday night. So look at one of the two. Obviously, two radically different styles. Kyler Murray is, obviously a guy who's going to be able to buy time, gets out of the pocket immediately, which with the foot injury, we don't know what that'll look like, but is able to kind of convert the busted plays a little bit more. Jacoby Brissett is going to play a lot more in structure. He's going to get the ball out quickly. He's going to hit the open man. Both guys are going to get sacked probably. So that's a big plus. And Kyler Murray, and a relatively immobile Kyler Murray, might get sacked a whole bunch, Zach.
Yeah, I think the biggest key, obviously, if Murray is playing in this game, is to stay true to your rush lanes, contain him to the pocket, because we've seen with him in his entire career that even if teams are playing that kind of contain him to the pocket style where there are no escape like lanes for him, he'll still try to escape. And that's when he runs into a lot of sacks and takes a bunch of sacks as a quarterback, where sometimes you don't have that avenue to get out of the pocket and he still tries to get out of there. And that can lead to some bad plays for his offenses and what's kind of kept him from taking that next step as a player. Very, very talented quarterback who's done a lot of good things in his career, but I think Lou Anarumo and this Colts defense kind of knows how they can contain him. Again, just keep him within that pocket, keep him within structure. And then if Jacoby Brissett's the quarterback, then your whole plan of attack in terms of rushing lanes does change a little bit, because you're not really scared of Jacoby Brissett breaking the pocket. Right. He's not a big time athlete back there. So you can more so uncork your guys off the edge to go get him and really do some havoc there. But yeah, I think the key really, if Murray is in there, which I think he'll play, but we'll see. Again, it's going to really come down to like a big time decision tomorrow night. I think the key is you want to just get DeForest Buckner as isolated as possible. Have your edge rushers just contain the outside of that pocket, make sure Murray stays in there, and do everything you can to unleash DeForest Buckner. Because you even have in the notes here, Jake, that Jeffrey Simmons went crazy last week.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Jeffrey Simmons has been the best interior rusher in football this year, so Buckner is probably a step down from Simmons at this current moment. But I still think you can replicate a lot of that by, again, simulating pressure, mugging the A-gaps and stuff, getting it so there's only one hat on Buckner, and then Buckner can do some work and really get after Murray, because he's going to be the key if Murray is in the game, because you don't want him escaping out the back of the pocket or escaping out the sides. So you want your edge rushers to just kind of collapse it, and then Buckner has to be your force player.
Yeah, but between Froholt and can't think of the other guy.
Is it Will Hernandez still? Is he still their starter?
Yeah, Will Hernandez is left guard, I think. But yeah, there's definitely some opportunities there. There was even some moves that Simmons made to get into the backfield that Buckner does, like the swim move. Like he got into there for, I think, one of his sacks. So I think Buckner is going to have a productive day. But this seems one where it's going to be a team-based pass rush. With a guy like Murray, I think if you're able to get a guy on the opposite side of your edges one-on-one, and you kind of take your other part to push Murray into that window, you know what I mean? Like just going one-on-one to try and get him traditionally, I don't think is necessarily the best case. But if you're able to force him into a more higher pressure area of the pocket where you've got the better numbers there, I think that's probably the way to go. It's probably one where you're going to see a lot of half sacks between guys.
It's just one of those game plans where you ask your edge rushers to bull rush and then create leverage with your hands and keep your chest plate clean, because once he tries to bail, you need to just be able to get off that block in a hurry and tackle him, because that's just how he plays as quarterback. It's kind of what they did against Cam Ward earlier this year, and Ward still broke the pocket a couple times, because they lost contain. So the key is just being on top of it with your technique there on the outside.
Yeah, and I don't think I think you obviously he can do a lot of ad-libbing and can make a lot of special things happen, but I think you just got to not freak out about that and just commit to it. When you're coming to him, commit to him, because he does a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs and stuff too. Just keep it coming, because he is a guy, as mobile as he is, he doesn't really escape sacks within the pocket. He does it, when you break contain and you get outside. So yeah, your integrity, your rush integrity, I think is going to be pretty important in this one. Now the run game, Arizona's been pretty productive. Now they're down to like their millionth running backs, it seems. Trey Benson is on IR. James Conner's on IR. You've got kind of a group thing here. You got the dude who dropped the ball before the end zone. You got Bam Knight. Bam Knight, and then you got Michael Carter. I think Bam Knight's kind of got the most juice of that group. DeMarcado, he obviously had the long run, but he was running through an albatross. He had to make one cut, and he passed the entire defense by the time he was at the 1.5 level, basically. So yeah, they can run, but again, there's nothing cute about their run game. I think it's very hat on hat, just executing your blocks. So I think if the Colts fit the run well, that's, throw Jermaine Pratt in there as a good X factor this week, however much he's able to play. And if you just fit the run well, I don't think this Cardinals offense is necessarily going to maul you. I think the Colts defensive front is good enough to where they should be able to contain the rush better than a lot of other teams have.
Sort of. So I think my big issue, or not my big issue, my big concern, I guess, with this game is I don't think the Colts passing defense is going to struggle much in this game. The Cardinals passing offense is a little too stagnant for me. They're too reliant on two players, and Murray's just too inconsistent as a passer. And if Brissett's out there, we don't know what Brissett we're getting. So we could get the all-pro Brissett like he showed in Cleveland for half a season, or showed in Indy for half a season, or we could get just the terrible Brissett that we've seen in other areas as well. So I can't even comment on him because he wakes up one morning and figures out if he's going to be good or not then. But if Kyler Murray's out there, he's just too inconsistent for me. But when it comes to the running game, the Cardinals are up there with the Colts actually in 12 and 13 personnel usage. They use a lot of tight ends on the field. Yeah. And we've seen with the Colts this year, they do not match base personnel with heavier set usages. So we won't see them come out there with 3 linebackers on the field. And that could be an issue in the running game where you have more, 7 big body blockers out there versus a nickel or a dime defense. So guys need to be on it with their physicality, with their fits. And we've seen them struggle as a run defense this year in a lot of those type of plays. So if the Cardinals offense is going to get anything going on Sunday, it's going to be in the run game with those heavier personnel packages. Trey McBride, and I think it's, oh man, who's the
Tip
other tight end?
Ryman.
Who is it?
Tip Ryman is their blocking tight end.
Yes, Tip Ryman, great, really good blocker. Big 10 blocker out of Illinois. So yeah, they do run the ball really well out of those heavier sets. So that'll be my big concern because again, the Colts are not going to match it with heavy sets. They're going to run their lighter boxes. So players like Nick Cross, players like Jermaine Pratt coming in here, Zaire Franklin, they're going to be very, very key to slowing down this Cardinals offense because they can force them into negative plays. They can force them into 3rd and 9s, 3rd and 10s. Then I feel a lot more comfortable, obviously, with this Colts defense because I think their passing defense has the advantage in this game. But the running game could give the Colts some problems, and it'll be on the Colts offense on the other side of the ball to score enough points early to make it so the Cardinals don't run the ball the rest of the game.
Yeah, that's right. So obviously Colts defense matches up quite well, but there are some things to be cognizant of. But you know what? Up next, we got to make our picks. Who is going to win? The NFL season is in full swing. I honestly can't even believe we're already in week 6, and FanDuel has got an offer that you don't want to miss. So right now, new customers can bet just $5, and you're going to get $300 back in bonus bets if that $5 bet wins. That's right. Just pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the entire FanDuel app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you got a little something riding on the action, especially if it's not your team playing, Whether you're a casual fan or you just love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Zach. So this one to me, I feel like Arizona is a solid competition. They're 2-3. All of their contests have come down. They're 1-score games. They could very well be 5-0. They're a decent team, but they are a bit hamstrung right now. No pun intended. They're dealing with some injuries right now, and I just think their strength, the Colts match up pretty well with them. I'm not going to predict the type of blowout I predicted last week with Colts Raiders, but I do think the Colts probably win this one by multiple scores. What do you think?
Yeah, I could definitely see that happening. I think the Cardinals are a feisty, scrappy type of team, especially early in games. They're physical. They come downhill with great aggression. And I think they have a good plan for offenses that run a lot of play action like the Colts do. We saw how they performed against the 49ers earlier this year. I thought they had a very admirable performance in that showing. So yeah, I'm with you. I think they're a much better team than the Raiders. I think this is probably the 3rd best team the Colts have played all season, just behind the Rams and Broncos, who I think are on a different tier than them. But I still think this Cardinals team has some life in them. But ultimately, it just comes down to I just think the Colts are Mr. Fundamentals right now, and on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. And I just think that's a horrible matchup for a team like the Cardinals who just make so many mistakes, self-inflicted wounds. Now, I could see a version of this where the Cardinals win because they can dictate some things and force the Colts into some turnovers. But the way that this probably goes in my head on Sunday is the Cardinals make some mistakes early. The Colts, being the home team, being the winning team, being the more poised team, just does their thing, moves ahead of the sticks, gets points on the board early. And then from there, it just becomes a control game for the Colts, which they've done so well this year. So, yeah, I'd have the Colts winning as well, but I wouldn't sleep on this Cardinals team, especially if turnovers pile up for the Colts. If they, if the Cardinals take the ball away 2 or 3 times in this game, then certainly that could lead to a Cardinals victory for sure. But ultimately, I just think this Colts team is operating at such a high level, especially at home, where a lot of their pre-snap process isn't an issue, where they can just keep ahead of the sticks. They can get those clean reads they're looking for. It's a lot quieter to get your play calls in. This Colts offense is just clicking on a different level at home this year. And we even saw them put up 29 against the Denver Broncos at home as well. So I think this Colts offense is going to get around 30 points like they've been doing. And this Colts passing defense, I think, is just playing at a good enough level right now where I don't think they're going to give up that much to the Cardinals.
Yeah, so a couple X factors for me obviously is that Arizona is prone to being undisciplined at times, bad penalties and just issues with mental mistakes that, cause turnovers. And it's not like necessarily a pattern. There are just some things that come together to be part of the larger picture. The drop in front of the end zone was one thing. We know here, obviously, it's just a dumb thing that can happen. But even like they had the interception that they fumbled when no one was touched, and then the Titans came and recovered it for a touchdown. That stuff just comes together to be part of a larger picture. And so them being on the road also, I think Daniel Jones being so in control of like his cadence and stuff too, they could get a couple free plays. Like there's just a lot of tiny details that could shift in the Colts' favor. I have them winning. I think I put it at like 27-13 or 27-14. I'm pretty interested to see how Michael Badgley factors into things because Badgley's not, I mean, he's fine as a kicker throughout his career, but Spencer Schrader was playing at like an all-pro level so far. So replacing that, you want to see how it affects Shane Steichen's decision-making as well, as far as like when they're willing to go for it and just straight up, like if he's going to make his kicks, like a 42-yard field goal, is he going to convert that? Is he going to go 2 of 3 on extra points? So that's kind of a little gray area thing where you're curious to see how that's going to go, but still very confident in both the Colts offensively and defensively. The return game has been pretty solid on kickoff returns. All that, I like them, again, about 27-13, 27-14.
Yeah, I think I'd say 31-20 would be my prediction for this one. I think this Colts offense is clicking at such a high level. I don't know if this Cardinals defense is the one that's going to slow them down. And again, especially at home, I think the recipe at home is just too good for the Colts right now. But I do want to, highlight this comment here. Jokes into point says, the season is kind of on the line for the Cardinals. And again, they play hard, they play fast, they play physical. So that can matter if the Colts are flat. And I completely agree. The Colts can't come out flat in this game. I just think the big thing for me is I haven't seen this Colts team really come out flat this season, especially at home. Again, it's only 3 games, but we've seen them come out ready to go no matter the opponent, and that's why we've seen these lopsided games from the Colts. So until they show me that they're capable of that letdown game, I'm going to keep believing in their ability to come out there and just put the foot on the gas pedal and keep going. So, this Colts team, I just think they're too mature for this moment right now, and I think that they're going to be poised and in control of this one here against a Cardinals team that's coming off a very emotional loss against the Tennessee Titans, emotional for their head coach even, as we saw all week and stuff too. So, I just think this Colts team is ready for the moment. But Jake, since we have a couple minutes left and we like to throw this at the end of our Friday shows, what's our random prediction this week? We were so close with the kick return touchdown last week, Jake. We were so close. When it happened, I was like, oh, the victory laps we're going to take after the show. And then it got called back. Although we did say Anthony Gould returning a touchdown last week, but still, if we would have got kick return touchdown, that would have been crazy. But I did say Doolin big plays on offense. We saw 55 yards from him. I think we're getting pretty decent with some of these here. So what's our random prediction of the week here, Jake?
Big man touchdown on the defense. So someone from the defensive front 7. This is kind of with the caveat that it's going to be Kyler in there. You have to, I'm sure every defensive front 7 that goes against him is instructed to get those hands into the passing lanes because obviously he's short. All the Kyler is short jokes, ha ha ha. But like it's legitimate. Like he's a shorter quarterback, and the Colts already are pretty active with getting their hands in passing lanes, especially Grover Stewart. His tips have caused like a couple interceptions already this year. He's blocked a kick. So I think there is going to be a big man touchdown. Don't know who, but a Colts member of the defensive front 7 is going to get some sort of touchdown.
You could have been on the. I think I just influenced you too much over the years, Jake. Where I always push you to go crazier and crazier with your. Now you just keep going crazy with all of them
because it's very specific.
Because you could have just said a pick 6 or fumble return for a touchdown, and that would have been pretty out there. That's a pretty big thing. But no, big man touch. How big are we talking? Does it have to be a defensive lineman?
Well, just someone from the front 7 because
okay.
I don't know. What I'm envisioning in my head is a tip. Yeah, like a tip at the line that leads to an interception and then just going the other way. So that could be anybody. Like
we have to give it to Leatu Latu. We have to give it to Leatu Latu.
won't it heal your heart for it to be Grover Stewart though? Just to
It
see
would.
him going in for a tutty, like, oh my God. Like,
I don't know if he can make it. It'd have to be like in the own 20-yard line intercept. I don't think he can go 50 yards with the ball. I think he'd have to go like 15 yards, but
sure.
I'll take it. I will take it
Yeah.
for sure. Yeah, I like that defensively. I was gonna say something like 2 interceptions for the linebackers in this game, mostly
Okay.
off of tip balls at the line or something that
Yeah.
get knocked up. So I'll go to the offense and let's go with the crazy attempt of predicting which Colts offensive skill player has a big week. Let's go back to Tyler Warren for this week because
Yeah.
Warren has, I don't want to say he was a decoy the last 2 weeks, but he's got a lot of attention from defenses the last 2 weeks. And we saw in particular last week that led to Josh Downs having a really big game for the Colts. I think this is going to be one where they're going to want to get those runs after catch for Warren, especially if they can get him away from Budda Baker's side for any moment of time. I think they're going to try to get a lot of run after catch for him. Again, undisciplined defense. You want to do more play action like naked boots and get around the outside, and you can just dump it into the flat to Warren, get Warren up the field. So let's go with Warren having a pretty productive showing here. And then real quick as well, jokes and Point had another comment. How will Jermaine Pratt play? Fine. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll get out there.
4 tackles, 1 for loss, or one of the interceptions we've mentioned.
I'll take a 1 tackle for a loss, but I think he's going to get out there on the early downs. I think he'll be mostly out there to fit the run. I think on third downs, they'll go back to their dime looks that they've been doing. So as long as he's just not botchy bad as like last week, then I think he'll be fine. He's not going to be a big role this year at all. Like he's just going to be that second linebacker that has to fit against the run a lot. So yeah, I think he'll be perfectly fine. I don't really have many concerns with him. I don't have many hopes for him either. Just kind of, I think he'll be fine. But yeah, Jake's going out on a limb saying big man touchdown. So knowing us, Jake, it'll be a big man touchdown, but then it'll be illegal hands to the face on the defense, and then it'll get called back because that's just our luck with these predictions here.
Just heart-wrenching. It'll have to be like Kwity Paye because it would be almost hilarious for the Colts starting defensive ends to have just as many or more interceptions as they do sacks at this point in the season.
That would be
so
good.
Let's call it Kwity on that one.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, going back the last couple of weeks, Jake said in the Rams game that we were going to have a huge AD Mitchell game, over 100 yards. He had 90 with the fumble at the goal line.
Yeah, which, by the way, someone on Facebook saw, like, I clipped that earlier in the week, and someone found that and said, this aged like milk. And I was like, he like had 95 yards and would have had a touchdown. Like,
yep. And then I had mine last week, the kick return touchdown that got called back. So we always paint around the corners is what we do, Jake. So we know there's going to be a big man interception this week, or Warren's going to have like the second most receiving yards on offense. It'll be something like that. But we always want to thank you guys, though, for tuning in to Locked On Colts each and every day, especially on these Friday shows to get ready for the game. We'll be back with you guys, obviously, on Sunday, right after the showing of the game with the Colts Squad Show to talk all about, hopefully, another Colts victory, moving to 5-1, hopefully. But we want to thank you guys yet again for making Locked On Colts your first listen each and every day. The NFL season is finally here. So for your next listen, get a double dose of the Locked On NFL podcast. Tyler, the Madman Roland, gives you a shot of espresso to start your football day, while Tony Wiggins takes you into the barbershop for the smoothest breakdowns to end the day. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you guys want to become a Locked On Colts insider and chat with us directly and get that insider scoop, follow the link in our show notes. And if you don't already, make sure you're following at Locked On Colts, at Jake Arthur NFL, at Zach Hicks 2, all on socials. Also, subscribe to us on YouTube, wherever you listen to your podcast. We love you guys' ratings, reviews. Have a great day, and we'll see you guys back here again Sunday afternoon for Locked On Colts Squad Show.